Thanks, Imtiaz. Thanks, everybody, for inviting me. Can you guys hear me? First, there's three aspects to it in terms of mental health. I'm not going to talk about logistics and all that kind of stuff. First one is the preparedness of the team that you take across. Secondly, is the country representatives that you meet when you go into an area. Remember, they've lost a lot of people among their own families. They've lost roads, airports, buildings, people, hospitals, doctors, depending on the type of disaster. So whilst they accommodating people coming from the outside, they're also suffering their own loss. And thirdly, are the people on the ground. You have three categories of people that need assistance. It's not purely about psychology or psychiatry. It's about reassurance. Most of this kind of work is about reassurance. It's about trust. It's about building relationships. It's about opening barriers so you can get into another country. If an earthquake hits South Africa, are we going to allow any team from anywhere in the world just to walk in our hospitals and do what they want? It's never going to happen. So when you go across, you're going to have the mental capacity and the temperament to say, hey, be patient, hold on. South African teams get very restless because we're hardworking guys. We have people from other parts of the world where it's a disaster, but it's tourism, disaster tourism. When they come, they work for a couple of hours and they go around. Our guys pull 20 hours a day. Anything less than that, they get upset. They don't want to sit in the airport. They don't want to bring nothing. They left their practices. They left their family not to do disaster tourism. They came to save lives and to help people and to alleviate suffering or whatever they can do. So mindset and mentality of your worker or your team is absolutely critical. Now, you guys heard of the term social distancing during time of COVID. I've been practicing a thing called emotional distancing for the last 32 years. Because my friends and my teams get messed up when they're going into a disaster. You become too attached to the people. And the only way to avoid that is not to focus on an individual. Ismail, Abram, Farouk, Lindiwe. Forget about the names. You feel compassion for the situation, not for the person. The moment you did for the person, you did. You're not going to be able to function. As much as I tell my teams that, some of them just get caught in the trap. Oh, that small child, look how it looks, lost a leg. That one's eye is gone. That lady's a widow. What's going to happen to the old man? When you start going with those kind of thoughts, you're going to have a problem. I'm telling you all this kind of stuff in the event you guys ever go on a mission. It's not about PTSD or BWRT or EMDR and all that kind of stuff. It's nothing to do with that. It's got to do with your own state of mind and how you approach people when you go to the other side. When it comes to a war zone, I'm the most horrible to my teams before they leave. I tell them on the message, you're going to die. I tell them you're going to lose your eye, or you're going to be amputated, or your child's going to have, you're going to become an orphan, or they're going to capture you. Please don't come. You test the resilience of your people when you tell them that. They get back to me. There's two critical components whenever you want to enter a disaster. One is faith, but everybody doesn't belong to a book. There are people who say, we don't follow any book. That's fine. You part that one off. But there's something that everybody belongs to. That's why you're human. It's called spirituality. You don't have to have faith. Need me to talk loud?
You stand a little bit too close.
Or you want it further back?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Second thing is spirituality. It's about your humanity, your caring, your compassion, your kindness. I have teams who don't follow any book. No issue to me. But they have one thing in common. They have compassion. They're committed. They're dedicated. They're cross religion, they're cross culture, they're cross class, they're cross race. They come from all over, all different kinds of mentality. The one thing we have in common is the compassion, and that's how we understand each other. As an aside, I don't allow religious discussion in the teams if it is to cause conflict. But if it is to explain and understand each other, then they're most welcome to discuss as long as they want. It's not a problem. Secondly, anybody can bring their book, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, whether it's a Bible, whether it's any other book, they're allowed to bring it if they want to carry it. They can wear it the thread, they can wear the cross, they can wear a chain, it's fine. Because in that kind of situation, when you're in trouble, faith comes uppermost, even if you don't follow any book. faith comes uppermost. I've seen it with journalists. I've seen it with what other people have told me. Journalists tell me we don't believe in anything. And when they go there, they tell me we just found God. That's what they tell you from the different groups. It's inevitable. You see the signs. You see the beauty in the disaster. You see the hardship and the difficulty. You see the human reaction. It's impossible not to have that kind of sensation in a situation like that. So I frighten them first before they leave home. Then I frighten them in the warehouse where we meet. Then I frighten them in the airport. I frighten them in transit. I frighten them before we enter the country. And that's what they tell me, shut up. They say, don't you think we thought about it? Are we not adults? We know we have one child and we're the only parent. And then they tell you something absolutely amazing. They say we are God's creation. We are going to serve his people. He will protect us. And we will serve the people to the best of our ability. There are many signs that happen on this trip that increase positivity and hope. Faith and spirituality are the two ingredients that increase spirituality, positivity, and hope. But when you see the signs, when you see it in action, it just strengthens you further. Remember, this is about the practitioner's well-being. If they messed up, they can't help anybody. I can't take a whole team of qualified people and they fall apart. It's no use. They cannot afford to fall apart because one weak link in the chain is going to mess all of us up. Your mental state is paramount, not how good you are as a surgeon, how good you are in dealing with people. The most important thing is how good you are dealing with challenges. That's the thing that faces you the most. So we get to Turkey, on the way to Syria in 2012, 12 April. Now, we're carrying close to a couple of million rand worth of medical equipment in our hands. You know, orthopedic sets are very expensive. Now, to declare that is going to take very long. So delay us and we're going to have a problem. So we all went in the gift shirt. So the Turkish people see the white people in our team. Where are you going to? We came to play a netball match. That's what the person replies. Thinking on the feet. We came to play a netball match. They don't even play netball in Turkey. And they say, welcome to Turkey, wet netball team. Go through. They didn't open a single bag. They didn't check any equipment. And we went right through across tons of stuff of medical equipment. Nobody checked it. Because somebody was clever enough to say netball team and make it very calm about that. Thinking on your feet. That was anxiety. But the orthopedic surgeon said, if we lose the stuff, what are we going to do at that time? We can't find implants. The walls and everything's gone. There's no shop or warehouse or company. It's gone. So that kind of thinking on the feet is critical. It only comes from a positive mindset. Now, before that trip, before I took the teams in on 12 April 2013, I'd gone in December and in October of 2012. I traveled to various parts of Syria and I couldn't find the right place to function as a medical team. I couldn't find a doctor. A lot of them had died already. And others were in the caves and in the mountains, so you couldn't see them, you couldn't find them. And others couldn't speak the language. So there were no doctors there. There were no healthcare workers. So I'm leaving Syria now in October 2012 and December the second time. And I'm leaving because I'm very unhappy. I don't know what to do. I can't do a medical intervention. So as I'm about to leave, somebody shouts in Arabic, doctor, doctor. So I see the guy and he comes, I ask him, you speak English? He replies, yes, I speak English. What's your name? Dr. Ahmad Gandoor. What do you do? I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon. Where are you coming from? From the cave. I was operating in all the caves underground to save as many lives as possible. What help you need? Can I help you? Yes. Have you got a facility where I can put up a medical emergency medical facility? Yes, we got the building. Let's go right now. That town just got liberated 10 days ago from Assad's army. The Free Syrian Army liberated it 10 days previously. I walked into the right place. It takes me to a building that's empty because it is supposed to be used for old people. In Arab culture, old people don't stay in homes. They stay with their families. So nobody used the building. Good for us. But when I walked in, I said, hey, this building is too small. So he said, you haven't even started yet. I said, I'm giving something, give us, this building is too small. Can it go upwards? Can we go sideways? Can we go forwards? And can I take the land across that road? And I can take 4 or 5 other buildings. He told me, you mad? I said, Ahmed, it's going to happen. I know exactly what I'm telling you. So he said, look, we have to find an engineer. This is a war zone. Everybody's gone. There's nobody there. We need an engineer. The professionals are gone. Because I walked in with a shirt, and I'm a foreigner, whenever you go into a war zone, a foreigner is treated with suspicion. They don't know whether you're a spy. So you've got to be very, very careful because both sides will shoot you if they don't trust you. So because I was walking with Ahmed, the man is a hero, is a legend in this country. So it says, okay. So whilst we were walking to the building, this is important. You need to understand this part. Well, I told you need a sign why faith and spirituality is so important. And when you see the signs, it makes a hell of a difference. So we walk into the building and other people also walk into the building. So when I say loudly, Ahmed, I need an engineer, a man gets up from there and says, sorry, I overheard your conversation. You want an engineer? I said, yes. He said, I'm an engineer. What are the chances of that happening? So I said, I'd like to know, can you go upwards in this building? Without thinking, he said, yes, 2 floors. I said, where did you study? What kind of engineer are you? I said, you haven't looked at the plan, the drawing, the steel structure, the concrete, the thickness of the steel. How you can give me a stupid answer like that? He looked at me, said, my friend, take it easy. I built this building. Just the 15 million people were displaced in the war internally and externally. This man left that place called Darkush several years ago. He never came back. The day I needed an engineer, in that hour, in that minute, not any engineer, the engineer that built that building was standing right in front of me. That is faith and spirituality. I went up the 2 floors. I took the land across. I took 5 other buildings. Exactly what I told Gandur happened. And we put up a second hospital on the border between Turkey and Syria. So as the jets came across, the Turkish planes threatened to shoot them down. So they had no choice but to turn around and go back. It's all part of the planning. We put the hospital between 2 mountains. There was no way we were going to bomb that hospital. Everything was critical. When I entered the first time, I went the illegal way. In a drum, across the river, they pulled me on a rope. So I sent a message. I met Jacob Zuma that time and Khalima, and I said, speak to the Turkish government. I want to enter Syria. You guys have a good relationship with them. They said, look, it's going to be very difficult. So I sent them a message. I said, I will cross into Syria legally or illegally. They said, we can't stop you. If you go illegally, we're not happy, but we can't stop you. You think the media are going to sit quiet? The media filmed us entering illegally and they sent it to the whole world. A week later, in Parliament, in South Africa, the government passed a motion of commendation for gift of the givers entering Syria to help the people. But before I took the teams across the river, something else happened. I tried to follow the system and go legally, to go across the normal border. Now, in this kind of business, that intuition is very, very important. I started feeling very uncomfortable at that border. There of my team, a guy called Dr. Jacob Isaac, who suddenly just got a heart attack and passed on the 1st of May last year. And Dr. Kasim Borat, who now heads the team, was walking randomly. They suddenly asked me, do you feel uneasy? I said, you guys getting the same feeling? I said, yes, I'm getting the same feeling. Something's not right here. They said, you guys can cross the border, no problem. I said, you know what? It's late. We need to do something. I told my teams, get out of there. I took them all out from the border. An hour later, exactly where our teams would have been, the bombs fell exactly in that spot. Our entire team would have been wiped out. So that's why when I went the illegal route. When they saw that, and they saw what happened at the airport in Turkey, and what happened when I asked for an engineer, those are all critical things for mental well-being, especially when you're in a situation of absolute stress. In that same hospital that we set up, it's called Ar-Rahman, meaning mercy. That Wednesday afternoon, 5 days after we arrived, something very, very significant happened. A father comes in with a child and rushes into the casualty section, into the outpatient. The nurses take him into the casualty section. The other six-year-old child, 6 to 7-year-old child. The South African nurse says, no, let the father go in with the child. So the South African nurse overrides the Syrian nurse, and because we're running the hospital, that's our advantage. So the child goes in, puts the child on a bed, intensivist, cardiac surgeon, general surgeon, vascular surgeon, everybody around this child. The child's head is that side, the feet are this way. The father is sitting at the foot of the bed. He's taking his hands and is rubbing the shin of his child. He's rubbing the ankles. He's looking at the child, he turns away. He's looking at the child, he turns away. 15 minutes later, we tell him, the tears come down. The father gets up, walks out to the reception area, tells his wife. She screams a blood-curdling cry, and she drops to the floor. Absolute anguish. For the first time in my life, I watched an entire medical team come to a standstill. The whole hospital stopped working. Everybody stopped. The way that lady cried in anguish. You know what happened? The man is a farmer. He's not a soldier. They don't know anything about fighting. They were defending their territory. He was cleaning a gun while he just pointed at his child. He shot his own child. How is he going to live with that? You guys are psychologists and psychiatrists. How is he going to live with that? And how is his wife going to live with him? This was a pure accident in a disaster situation that caused that grief. You know what was worse? Why everybody fell down? Not because of the child. We were in the best part of Syria, but that kind of damage, what was happening in the worst part of Syria? Those are the kind of things that go through your mind. As we came across the bins or the drums into the water, 4 missiles went overhead to say, welcome, South Africans. They tried to bomb the center where we were eating. We had to go underground. I keep coming back to temperament. If you're going to have a problem, you're not going to be able to work. Temperament is critical. Our guys. And on Wednesday, after that happened, on that incident happened, that Friday, some of the teams have gone to an outline camp, Atma camp, others in the hospital, and suddenly 2 groups started shooting each other inside the hospital. I don't think in our history a surgeon has closed bodies so fast, patients so fast. From under the table to suture close. They came out, I said, would any of you like to go back home? All of them said no. They came here to help. Nobody's going home. A gynecologist came from Pretoria. They came 4 days later than the first team. Now my team, I got crazy guys. You make a joke about everything. But this poor guy is coming for the first time on a mission, and I don't know why he decided to come to a war zone in the damn first mission. He should come in an earthquake or a typhoon or a hurricane or a famine or something. Why a war zone? So that guy comes to the war zone and he sits down, and the guy called James Reddy he helps the orthopedic surgeons as an assistant for the equipment. So he's sitting casually, and James makes jokes about everything. So this poor guy, I won't give you his name, is one of the 3 top fetal specialists in South Africa. So James sitting next to him, and he asked James, like, you came earlier, like, how's it going here? James said, it's fine. A few missiles just passed through now and then. The guy was broken. He was totally broken because he did not have the mental capacity or the temperament. It's very different sitting here. Everything is nice in your office. It's fine. You're protected. It's not like that in a disaster zone. It's total chaos. If you're not strong enough and you don't have the 2 qualities I told you about, you're not going to manage. So they came into the hospital and they shot in each other. I came out of the hospital. I called them. I said, you see this hospital? I'm shutting down this afternoon. You, your wives, and your children will all die here. You have to be strong with them. You cannot be afraid. They came, sorry. Can we meet in the restaurant? So we went to the restaurant. We other people, we backwards, we farmers, we don't know what we're doing. We're very sorry. This will never happen again. I said, you put fear into the patient in the hospital. What kind of people are you? No, we're very sorry. We're very sorry. It'll never happen again. Saturday morning, 3 carloads of patients coming, injured people. What? And I said, no gun is allowed in my hospital ever again. No car is allowed to park outside my hospital because they use car bombs. A few years later, on Eid Day, a car bomb blew up the entire area. You couldn't come to the hospital. You had to go across the right route and come the other way. But because I made a rule, no car was allowed to park outside the hospital got saved. Only one window got cracked. That's all that happened. So they said, sorry. So the next day, these 3 vehicles come. Again, I'm telling you things about your mindset, your temperament, your courage to be outspoken, to put your foot down. It's got nothing to do with medicine. It's absolutely nothing to do with medicine. It's got to do about human relations, and that's what psychology is all about. So the next day they come, and what the guns, they take the patients and they run into the hospital and suddenly realize that they're not allowed. They take the patients, they pick them up, and they run back out of the hospital. They go put them back in the car, they take all their guns off, they take off all their boots, and then they fetch the patients and they bring them back in the hospital. It's about respect. When you have that kind of respect, from that day up to today, nobody in boots, nobody in guns, nobody in weapons ever entered that hospital again like that. That hospital has become the most significant, the most important hospital, the biggest hospital in North Syria. Dialysis, cardiac catheterization, CT scans, outreach clinics. We see 20,000 patients a month. We send surgeons to other areas that are getting more. Of course, the war is over now. But all that happened simply because people trust, brought in people with faith, and people who gave the direction. The first mission was to a place called Afun, 26 December 2004. I've laid the grounds about mindset, about faith, about spirituality, about thinking on your feet, the team's interest, and make sure you're not afraid. So 26 December was the first mission. We never had medical personnel. In the old days, from 92, 6 August, when it started off, tents, blankets, food, medicine, bottled water, sanitary pads, diapers, and energy biscuits. That's all that we did. The one exception was in 93, we built the world's first containerized mobile hospital. No government, no agency, no NGO in the world had designed a hospital in containers. We built it. The first of its kind in the world, designed in Pretoria, manufactured in Pretoria, South African engineering, South African technology, built in Pretoria, taken from Africa into Europe, into Bosnia. 28 state-of-the-art containers, theater, ICU, X-ray, sterilizations, burn, physiotherapy, dental unit, outpatient, casualty, orthopedics, gynecology, pediatrics, medicine, every part. Plus a bus, an ambulance, and a generator, 10 containers of backup supplies, sutures, IV fluids, medicines, and hundreds of thousands of liters of diesel fuel. So if the hospital gets stuck, it can function totally independent for one whole year. That's what we did. CNN filled up the hospital on 1st February 94 and said the South African containerized mobile hospital is equal to any of the best hospitals in Europe. That was in 93. The hospital, but we filmed it in 94. As an aside, to look at the impact that you make on people's lives. In 2005, the Bosnian government president called me and said, I need you to come with your family. We want to say thank you. I said, not necessary. He said, you have to come. So we go. The doctor I put in charge of the hospital in 1993 said, he was still there. He said, you told me that we can do anything in the theater besides heart surgery. I said, yes, that's what I said. He said, meet the lady. He brings me a lady. It is about human emotions. He brings a lady and he says, she had shrapnel in her heart. We removed the shrapnel from her heart in this theater that you South Africans brought. And you see these 4 children, they were born in this hospital after the shrapnel was removed from her heart in this theater that you guys brought. These 4 children and this lady is indicative of healing, health, compassion, and life. And it's you, South Africans, that you did that. People don't forget what you do. With this time, I'm going to give you a very unique story in the end related to this. So let's go back to the place called Hafun. 26 December 2004. A tsunami wipes out a lot of people in 13 countries, including Indonesia, Thailand, India, Myanmar, Maldives, other parts of Southeast Asia, reaches a place called Hafun on the northeast coast of Somalia and gets up to Kenya and Sri Lanka. We send in people into Sri Lanka. We were the first team in the world that responded to Sri Lanka, non-medical. We didn't have medical teams yet. This is 2004, 12 years into the system. We had no medical teams up to then. So we go to Sri Lanka with the first team in the world that responds to Sri Lanka. We're the first team in the world that meets the Sri Lankan president in 48 hours. We're the first team in the world that partners local people and within 5 days delivers 7 million rand worth of aid. I flew in planes from India, from Colombo across the damaged area and from Dubai, got vaccines and all other kind of supplies. We did that in 5 days. We're the first team in the world that given land to build houses. We were the first team in the world that built houses in Sri Lanka. As an aside, how much do you believe in yourself as South Africans and Africans? It's about mindset. Do other people do things better than you? Are you incapable? Are you not sure of yourself? Do you have a deficiency? All that is important for you to understand. We don't need PEFA and we don't need American money. Let's make it clear. Actually, it's a great blessing that has happened. We're not dependent on anybody. We have the resources. We have the means to do it ourselves. We don't want to put our begging hand out. When you go outside, they tell you, oh, you're from Africa. It's a swear word. Why you came? What did you come to fetch? Did you come with a begging bowl? What do you want? And we make sure we teach those people a lesson. When it comes to skill, Ubuntu, an approach and how to do things. And we always leave number one when we go from those countries. That's the promise we make, and that's what we live with. Nobody in the world takes more recognition than South Africans when we go. We've intervened in 47 countries. So those places called Hafun. If Africans don't respond to Africa, don't expect anybody else to respond to Africa. We have an obligation to ourselves. We need to understand it clearly. This is a slide about what I'm telling you about psychology. It's about obligation in country and our own continent. Hafun is in Somalia. There is no functioning government. There's no functioning logistics. There's no proper transport. There's no proper security. The only way to find out about the area where to land is the Civil Aviation Authority. They said the only place to land is in Bosaso. You have to travel by road to go to Hafun. It has to be done. We normally travel with illusions, Russian cargo carrying planes, 40-ton capacity. You can lie in the cargo hold. You can sit in cargo. You won't die. It's oxygen control. It's very spacious. You can play volleyball there. No problem. No seatbelts required. It's fine. The problem is an illusion can't land in Bosaso. It's too big. The runway is too small. It's not built strong enough. So we fly to Uganda. We get off the illusion. We take the cargo and put it in two small planes called an Antonov. Two Antonovs. Antonovs can take 18 tons each. But there's one problem. The oxygen is not controlled in the cargo. You stay there and same as we did. But we have to go. So what do? We sit with the pilot in the cockpit. Below him, behind him, above him, and around him. But no seat belts. Part of the psychology is a commitment and a dedication to get the job done because you could be on the other side. And if people say it can't be done and you're on the other side, what's going to happen to your mental state? So we fly. And as the pilot reaches the Bosaso, he says, shit. I said, what happened? He said, I made a mistake. The runway is 300 meters shorter than what they told us. He just drops a plane from the sky. Boom. And we fly all over in the cockpit. But you see, disaster management is not some sleeping thing. You've got to think of your teams and you've got to think of every eventuality. I took Russian fighter pilots to fly those planes. They knew exactly what they were doing, and the plane stopped just on the edge of the runway. We still had to go to Hafun, 400 kilometers away by a no road. You have to go to the no road. And when you come to the sea tide goes away. Then only you can cross, to go across, to deliver the goods. All this is our mental state. How long can you endure all this? Can you do it? If not, you'd rather stay home. So we get to the people. First, time we got a medical team. Never had a medical team before. First time, 26 December 2004, we have a medical team, primary healthcare, pediatrician, GP, and primary healthcare nurse. We said, who's sick? The whole town comes. All of you got affected? Yes, you all did help. What were they looking for? They come in the queue. The first one says, I had a headache 6 months ago. Second one says, I had a stomach ache 2 years ago. Your psychologist analyze, what are they telling you? They're telling you, I need reassurance. There is no Google, no network, no technology, no doctor. I just need to know when I'm going to die from a headache or not. That's all they want to know. That's all they ask for, nothing else. And you can reassure them, healing takes place from psychological discussion. No big theories, no investigation, no talking for 1.5 hours. 3 minutes only. Sorry, I don't need to think very fast. So the patient comes and I tell my teams, the stethoscope doesn't work. And the BP machine is broken. And the light in the torch doesn't work. It doesn't matter. Go through the motions. Check properly. Check the there's no lights not working. BP 200 or 10, doesn't matter. Stethoscope, you can't hear anything. Hearing music in the chest, doesn't matter. But just do that and the important principles of medicine. Not MRI, not AI, not robotics, not CT scan. The human touch. Sorry, lady, what's wrong with you? Listen. All they want is a listening ear, a gentle voice, not an irritated doctor or an irritated nurse. You know, would you like to be treated like that? A gentle listening ear, soft voice, and show them that you are interested. That's all they want is acknowledgement. Isn't that what psychology is all about mental well-being? And they didn't need the medicine after that. They said, we're fine, we don't need anything. They left. Because you did what was human, what was correct, what is proper, what is dignified. We built a medical center. It's still running from that time till now to support those people. August 2005, our next medical team, second mission, a place called Niger, famine inside Niger. We get there, again, primary healthcare team, it's famine, people are dying from hunger and locust. We get to the area, we call the patients. Something very unique happened. Again, it shows the resilience of people, the sacrifice of people, the faith of people. You guys need to understand those things clearly in psychology. Cultural aspects are very, very relevant. So we go inside there, we said, come. No adult male, no teenager, no big kid, only small children. And the mother doesn't ask for help. How is this possible? There's family disease. Why are they not doing that? Then we realized we can't see so many hundreds of patients. We only 7 guys, ladies and men. So I go to the crowd and start triaging. I look at the child and say, because we can't speak the language, it's the language of the heart now. Point to the child and say, big smile and she walks. The mother takes the child and she walks. How she understood me. Let me try again. Number 5, number 7. My team started trying that. It's that. They started doing it. Point out. How do you explain this? How do you explain what's going on in a poor country? There's no medical services, there's no food, they died from infection and from hunger, and they refuse to walk the line, and they don't take medical treatment and they walk out. And everybody doesn't come. Why? I have a system that every night after the day, the journalists, the guys from government, my teams, the medical personnel, others sit together and everybody gives a report back. The first guy that picks up his hand, Tulasi's Vesimilane, used to be what SABC radio then it was ENCA. He said, I want to talk first. He said, as I was walking to the villages of Tilaberi, my investigation told me that 3 to 5 children were dying a day in this area. And yet, they didn't ask for help. How is that possible? You know what's the answer? I told him, stop. We just gave him the answer. He said, what do you mean? I said, they made the supreme sacrifice. They knew we were not too many. They knew the resources were run out. They knew that 3 to 5 children were dying a day. So when they walked out of the queue, they were prepared to sacrifice their child so somebody else's child could live. Their child may die in 7 to 10 days. Their child may not die the same afternoon or the next day. They were prepared to take that risk. There was no guarantee another medical team was coming. There was no guarantee more medicines was coming. There was no guarantee no food was coming. The only thing they were certain of was that if I don't walk out of the queue, my neighbor's child is going to die. What will happen to my child later on is irrelevant. What's relevant is what's going to happen today. Is the child going to die or not going to die? That's why no adult male came. That's why no teenager came. That's why no big kid came. That's why no mother asked for help. And that's why the mother walked out of the queue. I call that the quiet dignity of the people of Niger, and it made front page headlines all over the world. That is about resilience. It's about faith. If I tell you, go in the queue, there's no guarantee a doctor's coming, take your child and go, how many of you are going to listen to me? That is faith. That's about faith. The next one, and I'm going to give you one more incident after this. Oops, one already. October 8, 2005. This is a very interesting story. Earthquake hits Pakistan from Rawalpindi right to the Kashmir border in India. 420 to sink to the ground. We land in the airport. The Pakistani general comes to me and says, do you mind not going to the earthquake? I said, fine. Which hospital are you giving me? Now, I remember I said there are 3 parts to this. Your team members, the bureaucracy, and the people. My team looked at me and said, what do you mean? You're not going to the earthquake. Why did you come? I said, you don't understand the guy. He said, what do you mean? I said, explain this now. So I told him, which hospital are you giving me? He said, Cantonment Hospital, Rawalpindi. So I said, but what about the guys that are left over? He understood what I said. And we understood each other. I told the team, the man is telling you the earthquake is so destructive that all the hospitals are gone. The equipment is gone. The water plants are gone. Electricity is gone. Houses are gone. Support are gone. Roads are gone. There is nobody left there on the top. There's only a few people left. So that's why there's no point going to work in the top. We need to bring them down. So I asked him, what about helicopters? He looked at me and said, my friend, can you see our condition? All helicopters are gone. How are we going to give you helicopters? Mental vigor. Think on your feet. I looked around the airports. I said, American Air Force. So I go to the American Air Force. Big black hat. Emphasis on race is deliberate. I said, my friend, where are you from? He's got American badge. I know where he's from. I'm from the US. I said, you black. You're from Africa. He says, yes, I'm from Africa. I said, I'm from Africa too. How's you, my brother? Brother to brother, we hug. So he said, what can a brother do for another brother? So I said, this brother is in big trouble. So he said, what's the trouble? That's what brothers are for. I said, you know, I need to go to the mountain and I need to fly my teams there. And I need a helicopter. Just said it like that. Helicopter you need. Take 3. 2 minutes. 3 helicopters. The language of the heart, trust, dealing the right way. And you know, Muslims and Americans, we got a lot of problems with each other. But the guy just said, take the helicopters. He understood compassion. He understood need. We got 2 Black Hawks and another helicopter, and within minutes, my teams have gone into the mountain to go and stabilize and bring those patients back to the ground. But before they come, I need to stabilize the hospital. So we walk into the Cantonment Hospital of Rawalpindi. And as we walk in, we get the stench of death, the stench of gangrene. No doctors, no nurses, no disinfectant, no hygiene, no linen, no food, no IV lines. We call the general, what is this? Is this an organized killing field? What are you doing here? The CEO comes running. You know, they're very scared of the generals there in Pakistan. He said, General, you know, with hospitals being decommissioned, we're shutting it down. I'm a very blunt guy. So I said, are you guys feeling well? All your hospitals are one in the mountain, the ones that standing shutting down. There's something illogical and irrational about the way you guys operate. What do you want? I gave him a list. I said, you give me this list, I'll show you what we can do as a South African team. It's about giving hope to the military, to the bureaucracy, to the nursing staff, the healthcare workers, and the country. In less than 24 hours, The Cantonment Hospital, Rawalpindi, that was shutting down, the South African medical team converted it into a 400-bed emergency hospital, doing 75 operations a day and bringing patients from the mountain into that hospital and from all over, for which the following year in 2006, the then president of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, gave us a presidential award for bringing hope and life to the people of Pakistan. My teams don't sit still. They make magic happen no matter what. The last story, November 2022, my co-friend from Cape Town calls me and says, would you like to meet the new general manager of Turkish Airlines? I said, Nisar, in my business, I got to know everybody. I'm in logistics, I'm in disasters. I need to know the donkey, the cat, the horse, everybody. I need to know everybody to make things happen. He said, meet him. I said, no. I'll meet him when the universe tells me to meet him, not 1 second before that. 1st February 2023, I get into the plane in Durban, King Shaka Airport. As I'm about to enter the plane, my brain tells me, phone your friend now. There's nothing written down when he spoke to me in November last year. There's no notes taken. Okay, I'm phoning him 3 months' time, check. No such things happens. Everything's happened to spiritual connection. So I call him, I said, sir, is your friend here? He said, I'll call you back now. Called me back in 2 minutes. Yes, he's here. We're having supper at Sarai restaurant at the waterfront at 9:30, just after you land. So I land in Cape Town. I go to Sarai restaurant. We greet each other. We have the Turkish tea, wawa. And then ask. My first question to Mohammed Sona, general manager of Turkish Airlines, was, Mohammed, in the event an earthquake hits a country, can you move search and rescue teams, medical teams, dog handlers, dogs, medical equipment, search and rescue equipment, tents, blankets, food, medicine, blankets, food, medicine, bottled water, diapers, and sanitary pads? Can you move it without red tape, without bureaucracy, without delay? Because you know, in an earthquake, life saving is in the early stages, and you don't lose any of my equipment. He said, done. I was called in November 2022. On the 1st of February, I'm asked to call him. I meet him in the night on 1st February about an earthquake. 5 days later, 4:10 a.m., Monday, 6 February, the earthquake hits his country. 16 million people affected. What's the chance of that being a coincidence? In 24 hours, the search and rescue teams are on the plane. In 48 hours, the dog handlers and the dogs are on the plane. When you land in Istanbul, I told you the second part is the bureaucracy. You don't ever say, we are very clever guys. We studied at UCT. No, then you can't be clever. You studied at UKZ at Stellenbosch and other universities. And you come from South Africa. You don't ever do that. You say, my friend, my brother, we know you're suffering loss. What do you want us to do? Never impose yourselves. It's part of the psychology. We sat back and we waited. 172 countries responded, some with more than one team. This part is very critical. I'm going to finish off after this. 300 teams arrived. Only 12 teams were selected to go to Hatay. Hatay was 99% wiped off the face of the earth. I was there in November the year before. 12 teams get selected. 2 Chinese government, 2 Turkish government, Italian government, Jordanian government, Omani government, Saudi government, Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, and Gift of the Givers. We were one of 12 teams in the world selected to go to Hatay. We're the only team in the world that had 5 dogs. On day 8, the dog said, better go there. And when we went there, because of the clever dog, the dog imbibes the skills of the trainer. The dog imbibes the spirituality of the trainer. The dog imbibes the compassion of the trainer. And the dog said, go there. On day 8, 13 February 2023, we pulled out alive a 90-year-old grandmother in a 12-story building that is pancaked. The Bosnian team leader comes and touches my team leader on the shoulder, and he starts sobbing. And he says, my team leader asks him, like, what happened to you for 8 days? What happened now? He says, we know the name of your organization. My team leader asks him, what do you mean? He takes out a wallet, takes out a picture from the wallet. In the picture is a baby and a woman. He said, that baby, that's me. That woman, that's my mother. We know your name. I was born in the hospital. That gift of the givers brought positive in 93. Faith and spirituality, the source of positivity and hope, and strong temperament. Thanks very much.
Love the work that you are able to do with such compassion and with a sense of thoughts.
Working.
And to be able to deliver such work with such ethics, with such compassion. Really needs to be did. So I thank you for sharing those insights with us. There are a few questions I'm sure that some of you may have. I have a few as well, but I'm going to open about 10 minutes. And thereafter, we're going to be having a light lunch afterwards. So can I see any hands? Anybody wants to go?
COVID was a very interesting time for us. It was a time for mindset change. It was the time we were involved in medical missions, but it was the biggest medical mission we undertook. Again, when it started coming, you couldn't act anywhere in the world. Remember, you couldn't travel. Everybody was stuck in their own country. And at that point, it was enough to do in your own country. You didn't have to go anywhere else. Although we did assist some other countries with equipment, but not personnel. We needed our personnel here because they were dying. In the first 9 months of 2020, we lost 750 doctors. In the first 9 weeks of 2021, we lost 750 doctors in 9 weeks. 9 months in 2020, and in 9 weeks in 2021. So we had 1,500 doctors gone, nurses gone. When the announcement was made by the president that it's a state of disaster, not a state of emergency, not lockdown, we immediately made sure we started getting PPEs, scraps, all kinds of stuff in the country because we knew they're going to need help. We moved assistance into 210 hospitals nationwide, all the provinces. Now, one of the difficulties with South Africa with that system is you need an MOU, you need understanding, you need writing, all things takes time. I broke all those rules. I specialize in breaking rules. I don't ask anybody any permission, and I just delivered. When the guy got too clever, I said, do it yourself. Are you going to do it yourself? You want me to do it? The guy said, do what you want, no forms required. And like that, we got to all the hospitals. Something was very interesting happened while speaking that. We found that the mental state of the healthcare workers and the doctors was severely affected. Because when the nurses were sitting at the patient, especially when it came to the happy hour toxic, December 2020, the second wave of COVID, when they were sitting, they collected the food, and as they turned around, the patient was dead. Remember, they dropped dead in the car park, in the ambulance, in the Kumbi, in the casualty, in the house, on the road. They were just dropping dead, smiling, and next minute gone. That's why they called it happy hour toxic. Nurses then needed stimulation and support. Doctors needed motivation. Their friends died. Their families died. That happened. The worst thing about COVID on mental health was you couldn't say goodbye to your family member. So the husband and wife had a fight on Monday night. And on Tuesday, if the wife landed up in ICU, you couldn't go and say, I'm sorry. I can't say sorry. You're from the street to the battleground. Parent couldn't make up on the child. The important lesson about that is don't leave anything unfinished, especially in terms of personal relationships, no matter how bad it was the night before or the morning before. Husband and wife, parent and child, you need to fix, and that's a religious teaching, by the way, that don't ever go to bed when matters not resolved. And that caused a hell of a chaos. I remember I was in Livingston Hospital in PE, and they told me the doctors are just falling apart. First of all, the hospitals were understaffed before the COVID came. They were exhausted and burnt out before the COVID came. And when they went into difficulty, I put 17 paramedics to support Livingston Hospital. You don't need 17 consultants. Doesn't make any sense. The waste of resources. It's the same thing. Check the oxygen, check the BP machine, check the IV line. You don't need a consultant to do that. So I put in 17 paramedics. It took the pressure off the hospital. Then one day they said they're still feeling down. But it's Harley Davidson guys that go on a motorbike and they go deliver things all over. I call them. I said, go to the hospital. So they all went to the hospital, driving up the motors and engines and kind of stuff. From the top, the doctors and nurses saw them. They felt acknowledged. They felt important. We had a program called Hospital Heroes, where we did a lot of hospitals in Cape Town. Hygiene packs, sanitizer, some, perfumes, and, all that kind of stuff. The guys in the hospital earned good salaries. But the fact that it came from outside to show appreciation made a hell of a difference to them. It was those kind of interventions, emotional and psychological, that were critical for them to save other people's lives. The last point, the Minister of Trade and Industry in May 2020, Ibrahim Patel, asked the engineers to get together in South Africa, the guys that built the SK telescope, and said, look, we're not going to get any oxygen machine here. China's producing them and using them up themselves. Or Canada, America, and Europe, I think, but they got the dollars, the euros, and the pounds, we don't have the money. So we're not going to get anything. Let's design our own machine. So they got together and they designed the CPAP machine. It was far more efficient than a high-flow nasal oxygen machine, which ate 80 to 120 liters per minute. This took 10 to 30 liters per minute, and it's far more efficient. It didn't need big oxygen tanks. Secondly, high-flow machine you can only use in ICU. The CPAP machine you knock above the head of every patient and just put it oxygen point. So it would save lives. So they designed this machine. The South African engineers designed it. That is a positive that came out of COVID. In that hardship and that difficulty, the engineers used their brain and they designed it. We designed the Clippy Crawley, that for the world. So we got that kind of skill. Then CSIR manufactured it. SAPRA approved it for use specifically for COVID in South Africa. Solidarity Fund paid for it, 25 million, 250 million rand, 20,000 machines at a cost of 12,500 each. Good buy for 12,500 rand. I get a professor from Rhodes University called me in November 2020, gave me the whole story about his machines and says he can't get into the hospital. So I said, have you got a transport problem? You spent 250 million rand and you don't have transport money? He said, no, it's not that. So I said, what is it? The human element of greed. They tried to block those machines because they came for free. You don't make a cut on free machines. Somebody within the system with no ethics, no care of human life, worried about himself, stopped the machines from going to the hospitals. They took out the wrong guy. They called me. And I said, where's the machines? He said, it's in Cape Town. I was in Tigerberg that day. And exactly what he was telling me, when I got to the patients, they said, we did oxygen machines, they dropped them dead right in front of us. Eastern Cape call, Kylie Chuck call. I said, where's the machine? He said, in Acacia Medical, Cape Town. I said, send it here. I gave the doctors to try in Tigerberg. They phoned me after 2 hours. They said, where you got this from? It just saved a lot of lives here. So I did the same thing in Kylie Chuck. I said, where's it? They said, where you got it from? It saved a lot of lives. I said, South African invention. We put it on a chat. Remember, all the CEOs of hospitals were our chat groups because we have 210 hospitals in the country. Eastern Cape was badly hit. All the CEOs said, yes, we want it now. In 48 hours, we delivered 500 CPAP machines to 40 hospitals in the whole of the Eastern Cape. Monday morning, Kala Hospital, a poor hospital in Eastern Cape, calls us. The CEO gets on the line and is laughing. First time in COVID, somebody's laughing. What happened? Monday morning is Morbid Monday. Every Monday, we count the people who died in the weekend. This is the first weekend that nobody died because of the machines that you see. Greed is another element that you can deal with in the psychological thing of people. As after that, Mauritius called me, and I made arrangements to send 500 machines to Mauritius.
It's quite powerful and gives even me hope that all the stuff we face in South Africa, especially while we're facing things like NHI, we have all understand the corruption and the greed that we are facing. Outside of disaster, also just now South Africa. That the system I feel will work much better with some.
We're doing that already. I have a relationship. The system is changing. A lot of CEOs, health ministers, MCs are acting independently. What the guys don't know is there's a lot of change taking place within government. The government got its own problem. The ANC got a huge problem. The problem is itself. Because I've got two fractions inside it. One wants to do things the right way, and one wants to do things the wrong way. The right way was very quiet in the beginning, and the wrong way was overriding. The wrong way is 10%, the right way is 90%. The problem is good people don't speak. So the wrong 10% make the nonsense. The good people start speaking, and then they start getting the backup from hospital CEOs. The biggest problem is in areas where there's political appointments, guys are totally useless. Sorry, I'm a blunt guy. Totally useless. If no care, no compassion, they don't need to be there. I'm talking specifically about hospitals. They need to be taken on and removed. The system is coming. The change is coming. It doesn't happen overnight. They told me straight to my face, we've been in the trenches for 30 years together. How can we tell the guy you're rotten? We have to throw you right out. How do you do that? It's not easy. So they've got a problem how to get rid of the bad guys. But they're trying everything best. I started making health, not now, it's for some time now. I've made health number one. Health was never number one. We first pushed disasters to number one for the corporates. Now we put health to number one. And I could see this coming from last year. After COVID, the health system, NHI is not going to work right now. Yes, they need NHI, but not the way they explain it. You need universal health for all. It doesn't have to be the way they say it. You see, I've told them, why are you guys being stupid? Medical aids cover 9 million people. There's a system of putting another 9.8 million people on medical aid at a low cost. 20 million people out of the public sector. Less beds, less equipment, less maintenance, less medical staff. You can do that. Change the system. Every guy that does dialysis privately, every guy that gives medicine privately, every guy who does catch-up surgery privately, it's all NHIs. You supported the government indirectly. You're helping the public sector. It's taking the burden of the hospital. Doctors are prepared to give free time from the private sector. Private hospitals now want to come in, offer the theaters for free, offer the space for free. We're already using that system. What I'm telling you is we're already doing. People want to drill boards, don't put money for, you can save water costs putting the boards in hospitals. It's a slow process, but it's happening. Right now, exactly the question raised, and because of PEPFAR, I have to meet somebody at 3 o'clock that want to see how we can start manufacturing our own medication, own TB medication, own vaccines, everything else in South Africa, where we create jobs, where we get South Africans functional, where we have beneficiation. We don't need America. We can support ourselves and spread to Africa. I'm meeting those guys at 3 o'clock. I've asked the deputy president to meet him tonight to discuss exactly this. He's on a plane just now. So we may meet tonight to discuss exactly what I'm saying, on these issues. It's not going to happen overnight, but the process has already started. And there's a lot of people within the system. We need South Africa, we need a lot of psychologists. COVID destroyed everything. There's 2 billion people in the world that need mental health. The problem with universities, they take 7 psychological, educational, 7 counseling, 7 clinical. It's not enough. We need to, then they said, I don't have people to mark them, find them, bring the retired guys back. It's not difficult. Bring people from outside to mark. We need to train psychologists because your body can be physically fit, but if your mind is messed up, there's nothing you can do. So those are the kind of things you're going to look at.
Particularly post.
The mic is off again.
That is something that speaks from the heart. And
at the conference, cardiac anesthetic conference in Central Convention Center last year. One of the guys got up from the floor and he asked me, if I make you the dean of all the medical schools in South Africa, what would you teach? I said, besides medicine, I only teach one principle: compassion. We've forgotten it. We have forgotten what compassion is all about. We need to bring that back. I've told the new medical schools in Nelson Mandela University, Potchefstroom University, Northwest University has been approved to set up a new medical school. They've asked Rotary to be part of that process. I was with them last week for the paper, and I said the syllabus must bring in compassion and humanity rather than just pure medicine. We need to bring that in our kids, in our families, and wherever we go. That's what's going to fix this country and fix all of us at the same time.
Truly inspiring. Very open eyes to this. Council and you icon.
One final point, my wife is a counseling psychologist. She studied psychology to understand me. She can't get it right.